is 3 p.m. Hello, hello. It is 3 p.m. and thank you all for joining us for the Palace Marketplace overview. Happy to see that there are a nice group of you folks there from Rails that have joined the call. This, of course, will be recorded, so I'm sure you saw your pop-up letting you know that this is going to be recorded for future viewing if necessary. But I also wanted to introduce not only myself, I am Cav. They call me Cav because it's Valérie Allert Cavanaugh, so it's my initials reversed, all in caps, kind of like Prince. I also have Tara Carpenter. She is our implementation manager, and Jill Scarson. Jill Scarson is our partner success leader, and I handle all things sales related, including any questions that you may have regarding the Palace Marketplace. So we're going to jump right in. If there are any questions, we do ask that you just post them in the chat, and either Tara and or Jill will go ahead and respond to those. So don't feel that you have to wait to pose your questions at the end, but we'll also have the ability to open up the floor for that as well. All right. So with that being said, let's get started. So here's the agenda real quick. We're going to talk about how to get started with the Palace Marketplace. We're going to review all things Palace Marketplace, as well as the content and the licenses that we make available in the marketplace, the purchasing process, and again, any Q&A. So the marketplace account access, that's going to be your first step. You're going to need to complete what we call the IMA, which is really our institutional membership agreement. It is a form that's going to be provided to you via DocuSign and also made available via a link for you to execute. All that document says is that if you are purchasing content from the Palace Marketplace, then you are obligated to pay for the content that you purchase. So it's pretty straightforward there. Once that account is created for you and the form has been completed, then you'll go ahead and have the ability to jump right into the marketplace. And we would like that you start by creating a cart. So that's going to be your first initial step outside of completing the form and having your marketplace account set up. Once your cart has been set up, you'll be able to browse and add materials to that cart. Now, again, you can browse materials to add to a cart, but without the cart being created, you will not be actually able to associate those titles to any name cart that you have, and we'll walk through that process as well. So the Palace Marketplace has over 1.8 million titles made available from Big Five publishers, Amazon Publishing, Audible Studios, and indie publishing houses. We are very well known for having unique licensing terms, which are quite favorable to libraries that are partners of the Palace Project, such as yourselves. We also provide additional support. So there's free collection development support by our curation core of librarians. These are about 10 or so librarians across the US that have volunteered to assist our partner project library adopters. We're going to talk about the catalog overview. As I did mention, there's over 1.8 million titles available in the marketplace. Your marketplace is your self-serve platform. This is where you'll be able to search titles, browse for titles. You could have featured lanes with pre-made carts, and those pre-made carts are provided by our curation core of librarians. Of course, you can use that as a launching pad to add additional titles to a cart, but it's a great way to start to add titles to a cart if you just want something out the box. We also have your tabs, various tabs, such as your new releases, bestsellers, and all the things that you may see here at the very top of the Palace Marketplace homepage. But on the main homepage, we have various selections which the curation core of librarians have put together. Here's just some examples right here: Lit, PRG, and Game Lit titles. You can show all of those titles within the specific carousel, but you can also filter the carousels because the list is quite long. As we are creating these carousels for our library adopters to pretty much pull them off the shelves, they will continue to grow. And so if you're looking for anything specific without having to scroll through the list of carousels that have since been created, you can filter the carousels or view the full list. So how to create a cart in the marketplace. This is where it gets really exciting. So first you want to make a cart first. You want to ensure that when you're doing so, you click on My Carts. You can see it boxed here. That's where you would start. And then you're going to click on New Cart. Once you've done that, Then you'll be able to also further, once the initial cart is done, schedule carts for future creation as well. But let's drill into that just a little bit further. So creating a cart, you want to first name the cart. We suggest that you add your name to the cart, maybe a theme. It could be, Jane Smith, romance novels, and the date. That's a great way for you to find the carts that are created by yourself. After you've done so, you can look to add a PO field, a number field, but that is optional if your library does not require that you add a PO to any of your e-content purchases, then you're free to leave that field blank. Also, as optional is you can set a budget amount for your cart so that you don't go over your allotment. As you're creating the cart and adding titles to a cart, if the budget has been set at the onset of creating your cart, and it can be modified by editing the cart, you can go and start to see your spend either overspending or underspending or at the exact dollar amount or close to that you had initially budgeted for this particular cart. Now, scheduling carts. Schedule carts and new carts. These are when you want to renew any publications or licenses that you have since purchased in the past. He'll break it down to various categories for you to complete. There's publications expiring in the next X number of days. You can create a cart to be scheduled that has publications that have less than X number of loans, publications that have expired or been consumed, all the loans within the last few days. And then, of course, you can also select your license preferences. You can define the schedule, define the budget for the scheduled cart, and the identification for that cart as well. Once your scheduled cart has been created, you will receive an email reminder, and that will go directly to the creator of that specific cart. So this is a great way for you to stay on top of your auto carts, if you would, but nothing is going to be automatically purchased for you, but you will receive the email letting you know that these carts are ready to be repurchased. Of course, at that time, you have the opportunity to make any modifications to that renewal. You may want to modify your budget. You may want to modify the number of licenses or titles or anything there for a specific title that you're renewing that cart for. How do you add items to a cart? Now that you have your cart name, imagine your cart name is here. Again, you're going to add the titles. You've done search, you've browsed titles, and you see some really great titles that you're looking to purchase for your library patrons. So you're going to select your cart name, as I mentioned. Then you're going to verify you're adding the titles to the correct cart name. And I say this because this is quite important. As you're starting to purchase content from the Palace Marketplace, you're going to have various cart names. One could be Jane Smith romance novels. The next could be Jane Smith mystery. The next could be Jane Smith thriller. And so then you're going to want to click down on the drop down here just to ensure that any titles that you're adding are going to go directly into the cart that you would like to make that purchase from. So you've done your searching and your browsing. You want to determine your license type or types. Here's an example here for this specific title, Everything Living. Everything Living Thing, excuse me, that's a lot. Every Living Thing, unlimited loans. Time specific example, we've selected one copy for this title with this specific licensing model, but I may also want to select unlimited loans 1 year, one at a time. If you wanted to do that, you can also add a quantity amount to that specific licensing model as well. Once you've done so, you can just click add to cart, and that title with those two licensing models would appear in your cart, and the dollar amount would also be reflected in your cart automatically. So whether you're removing titles from a cart or adding titles to a cart, your amount, your full balance due would adjust in real time. If you have set the budget requirement, or say your library had a requirement to include a budget item for that cart, it would also let you know if you again have exceeded the budget or are at par, are you on your budget, or if you need to continue to purchase additional titles to fulfill whatever you have your budget set out to be. Once that's done, you can go back to go to cart to view the items that you've purchased. And if you're done purchasing or shopping around and making your selections, of course, you'd have the ability to validate your cart. And validate your cart in essence is really the one click that you do that lets you know that you have finalized your order and the order is on the way. There's really no way to kind of backtrack on that. So you definitely want to be sure that you've looked at your cart, make sure the quantity for the number of titles that you have included in your cart are accurate. We've had folks in the past who've maybe meant to click on just 2 copies for a title and accidentally clicked on 22. And so that has been quite an issue in the past, and it takes quite a while to get that all fixed up. So just take an opportunity to really review what you've done before clicking validate your cart. So in order to manage the items in your cart, as I mentioned, you're able to review the items. You're able to adjust the quantities. If you wanted to completely delete a title from your cart and you realize it's not something I'm ready to purchase at this time, let me go ahead and delete that title. You can do that. You'll be able to also see the pricing for that title and associated to your quantity. And if you see here, as I mentioned, it'll all be reflected in the cart. Also in the cart, you can edit the cart. Now, when we say edit the cart outside of deleting titles, but if you wanted to say change the naming convention of the name of the cart, you can do that as well. And you'll see these little icons here where my mouse is hovering over. You can edit the cart. You can import SCVs and ISBN numbers. You can transfer or duplicate, delete, or export the cart to a CSV format, in a CSV format as well. So these are all really great little tools that you can utilize and manipulate your cart as you so will. So manage items in your cart. In the cart, there's going to be various icons. The check mark icon, as you see here, to the left of this picture here, that's going to let you all know that an item has already been purchased by you or another library if you're using a shared marketplace account. Now, it's my understanding that you all have the ability, of course, to purchase content for your own library and that you're not going to be sharing your specific content purchase in the marketplace with a neighboring library. But if that ever came down the line, you're more than welcome to make that request, and we can associate any other library grouping of libraries, perhaps libraries that may be part of a consortia. If that's something you'd like to do, our implementation and operations teams can associate those accounts together, allowing you for that shared content functionality. But let's just focus primarily on assuming that you're looking at the marketplace for additional content that your individual library will be purchasing. So that is going to let you know again that that title has already been purchased by another library or someone else in your library, or that title's already in your e-catalog. Now, the shopping cart icon is an icon letting you know that it is not yet purchased. This is in the cart, but not yet purchased by your library, so it's ready to go. But keeping in mind, even if an item is already being purchased or added to a cart, it does not preclude you from purchasing another copy or copies. So there's not going to be a red flag or a warning saying, please don't purchase this. There's already a copy of this on your shelf, because it might be necessary for you to purchase that same title, but perhaps this round with another licensing model if you didn't choose multiple licensing models for that specific title at the onset of its purchase. So this just allows you all to make that business decision at that time. So verifying and purchasing items in the cart. Verify your items are correct, as I mentioned earlier. You're going to click validate, this big bright orange box here, to confirm your purchase. Once your purchase has been validated or your cart has been validated, you will receive an email, normally within an hour, sometimes less, letting you know that that is your purchase summary, and that will serve as your e-receipt. Not your invoice, but just your e-receipt. It'll give you a clear outline of all the titles that you purchased, the number of copies, the format of that title, etc. Invoices, however, will follow, and those will follow the month after you've actually made the purchase. So if you purchase content, say today is January 13th, by February, usually the first week of February, your library or yourself as the purchaser of the cart will receive the invoice. Now, the IMA, as we talked about earlier, is quite important because that's where we're also capturing information, asking where should your invoices be sent. They may not necessarily be going to the collection development librarian or the director. It may be having to go to someone in your purchasing office. And so we want to make sure that the invoices are emailed directly to your point of contact that will be handling those payments on your behalf. Once the purchase has been finalized and you receive your purchase summary receipt within the hour or so, content will be added to your Palace Project app and your Palace Collection Manager, or i.e. your catalog, your e-catalog in the Palace Project Collection Manager. That can take up to several hours, up to 24 hours at the very most, but usually much quicker than that. So let's talk about the tabs. When you go into the Palace Marketplace, there are quite a bit number of tabs that you'll see. We have new releases. The new releases tabs will show you items that are new in the last 30 days that have been made available from the publishers that are adding titles to the marketplace. You're going to see bestsellers. The bestsellers will display the best-selling items on the marketplace. It might not necessarily be the bestsellers that you're seeing highlighted in the New York Times, but it is going to be what has been most popular that other libraries across the US and Canada have since purchased, and that's what you're going to see underneath that tab. Our highlighted tab will showcase publishers with favorable licensing models. Now, those favorable licensing models can be a variation of licensing models. They may only have one licensing model, depending on the publisher, but we're going to dig into that a little bit further in just a moment. Our awards. Your awards tab will show award-winning ebooks and audiobooks. Now, when you get to the My Picks, that shows items that either have expired or will expire soon that were purchased from the marketplace. Save searches will also appear on this page. So if you're working on various searches, you can save those searches, and that's where the My Picks will go if that's something you'd like to look into for future consideration for purchase. The new to the market, or new on the block, our promotions tab. Our promotions tab is going to show right at the top of the screen here. It's going to break it down for you by children's books, audiobooks, ebooks, all various categories. And it's where you're able to see a list of all the items which the publishers have put on discount for our Palace Project Library adopters. So it's always a great place to start, especially if you all have, certain number of monies that you must spend by a certain time. We've run into various conversations that way. It's a great place to get a lot of bang for your buck. So promotions tab is something that I know I personally like to remember. Who doesn't like a good sale? And that's where you'll find all of that. But because the Palace Marketplace does have over 1.8 million titles, we want to be able to provide you all with some facets. Now, when you're looking at the facets, this is an example of what the facets look like in the Palace Marketplace. You'll see that on your left-hand side of your screen when you're in the marketplace. You would just click on catalog and the facets would appear. You would want to also click on all titles. When you've done that, then you're able to kind of take the 1.8 million titles and growing and break that down. So if you wanted to simply filter through what we have available in the marketplace that are fiction titles only, if you wanted a release date that was in the last 7 days, if you wanted to only have titles for, say, YA, and you wanted those titles to be in French, you can do that, and you were only looking for audiobooks. And really, you don't need to do much more, and that will pull back all of that we have available that is for YA and in French, and that are audiobooks, and that are fiction titles. Again, you could also look for things that are just simply concurrent users if licensing models is more important as opposed to the type of title, but the type of licensing. So you can look for titles that have concurrent users, titles that only have a certain number for the loan count, or license duration if that's important to you as well. So there's quite a bit of a flexibility here when you are using the facets to really drill down into content and to licensing models together, paired together to help you with your search as you go through the Palace Marketplace. Now let's talk a little bit about those unique licensing models that Palace is really well known for. So we start off with our perpetual use one at a time lens. So the one copy, one user that we have is pretty common, but here's something a little more interesting. We have our bundles of 40 with 10 concurrent lens. So this is really designed to aid libraries in promoting titles and maintaining availability. It's what our early adopters had requested when we first decided to embark on this idea of getting a marketplace, and not only an aggregator app, of course, which is the Palace project, but having licensing models that would allow for libraries to serve their communities at scale was very important. And so in speaking with publishers, this is the first licensing model that we do ask for. Of course, publishers can be sometimes difficult to work with and others not so difficult. But I will say we have over 100 publishers that have leaned into many of our favorable licensing models. The other would be the 5x5. That's really our bite-size offering for libraries to test whether a title will circulate, lower overall license costs, but it does have a higher cost per circ. Libraries, especially if they're looking at, say, Amazon titles or Audible titles, which are available in the Palace Marketplace, both for those publishers, as well as many others, have extended those two licensing models, including the perpetual use, one at a time licensing model associated with various titles in their collections. We have our single use lens, and that is new as of the top of 2025. So just about a year old now, going on a year old, where Penguin Random House has made over 95,000 titles available that have a single use lens licensing model. And you can definitely take a look at those in the marketplace as well. And what's also very special is our ownership model. So this is a legal framework that allows libraries to purchase content from the Palace Marketplace and carry those across other platforms. Many of our publishers, actually IPG and Dreamscape, have extended over 43,000 titles that have that licensing model, and we'll look at that in a little bit, period. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about licensing details. This is a quick snapshot of all the licensing models that are available in the marketplace. You have unlimited loans. There's 761,000 plus titles that lend themselves to that licensing model. And then we have loans such as 100 loans or 55, all the way down to the one loan licensing model. We want to look at the duration. So the duration also, we have titles that have 832,000 titles that have an unlimited duration. Some are a little bit different. We have the 5 to 10. We have a 2 to 5 year duration count, a 2-year and a 1-year duration count. So some libraries, they're very accustomed to looking at the 2-year duration count, but we're trying to really move away from that. And we understand that libraries would prefer to not necessarily always have titles that make up the bulk of their collection have to be renewed every year, every 2 years. And so having a really healthy license duration and a number of titles that are associated to the unlimited license duration, such as we have here, 832,000 plus titles, it really helps libraries to provide a healthy catalog that is not necessarily going to financially bankrupt them along the way. Concurrent users. What's allowed? We have over 263,000 titles that can have concurrent users, and what's disallowed. So you can always do your searches based on just the licensing model, or if you're interested in owning titles, you can definitely search for titles that only require you to own them. It's entirely up to you. So outstanding Palace Marketplace licensing information, or understanding Palace Marketplace licensing information. This is a quick snapshot of a title we have here, Sorry for the Inconvenience, which is a memoir. This is in an EPUB format. When you're in the marketplace, before purchasing or making the selection to add this title to your cart, you can read an excerpt of this title online. You can also download the excerpt as well. There's also going to be a brief description, some additional details, and accessibility details are also going to be available for this title and all the titles in the marketplace. Here you'll see some of our favorite licensing models that this specific publisher has made available. They have here the 40 by 10 licensing model for this EPUB, the 5 by 5, the unlimited loans, 2 years, one at a time, and the 26 loans, one at a time. So this really gives our library partners the ability to have a lot more flexibility and a lot more choice when they are selecting titles from the Palace Marketplace. Now, if you're selecting titles from any other marketplace, of course, you can do a comparison shop, which I always suggest that folks do. But if you're not, this is really just giving you some great options so that you can do the math yourself and determine what's going to make the most sense for your community and for your library, but your library's budget. Here's another example. And these licensing models are slightly different. If you see here, this publisher, Severn House, is providing or extending unlimited loans one at a time for this EPUB, as well as the 100 loans, 100 concurrent loans, the 40 by 10, and the 5 by 5. So again, giving libraries a lot of flexibility and a lot of choice wherever that we can. Sustainable ebooks ownership, we talked about that, and it's going to be clearly depicted in the marketplace. So you'll know out the gate if you're looking at a title that even has an ownership option, and that's going to be here pretty much a standout indication that this title can be purchased for ownership. It is an audiobook. And then, of course, there's some additional favorable licensing models that are also associated to this title so that you have the choice if you want to own a copy as well as, say, perhaps do a 5 by 5 licensing model on that. You can do both. It's entirely up to you. But we have included a FAQ for any library that has any additional questions or curiosities about what it means to own a title electronically, and that is also going to be made available here in this slide deck. So when we do share out the slide deck, all of this will be accessible to you. I did mention Amazon and Audible content in the Palace Marketplace a little bit earlier, so I do apologize for the spoiler alert. But Amazon and Audible content is only available in the marketplace as far as e-content providers are, as far as they're available, sorry, as far as we know, let's just say that. Nothing is exclusive to anyone, I will say, but right now we have been for the last 3+ years, where Amazon and Audible are only making at this time their content available for libraries who are Palace Project Library adopters to source on the Palace Marketplace. Now you can see the featured lanes. We have the Amazon imprints and Audible titles. Under the Amazon imprints, all the imprints are going to be listed as sublanes. So when you click on Show All, you'll be able to see all of the Amazon imprints there. And of course, the Audible titles, same there. You can click on Show All and you'll be able to view those titles that are available. We like to call this our little cheat sheet, if you would, of imprints by Amazon. And so if you're looking quickly, you can see the various imprints. Some of these publisher imprints, I'm sure, are familiar to you, as well as some of the titles that you may see here being displayed. But what's exciting? What's new from Audible? So thousands of titles, ranging from genre, from fiction to memoirs, standalone titles to even series. So concurrent bundles are offered through Amazon and Audible, as well as time-bound licenses. So again, some more flexibility and choice there. We have trending titles, including the Project Hail Mary and Dungeon Crawler. Dungeon Crawler Carl, that's always a tongue twister for me. And the entire series are available in the marketplace by way of Audible. I know there's quite a bit of information, but we have help, right? So the Curation Corps of Librarians, we can provide a cart curation assistance as needed. We have libraries that have worked with our Curation Corps of Librarians and have requested their assistance. Whether you're a small library or a large library, there's no library that at any point in time may not need some assistance, and just know that we are partners with you in this, and our folks can assist however you like. There is an intake questionnaire. Once that intake questionnaire is completed, our folks go to work, and we normally get you your collection. Your collection will be curated on average about 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the volume of the requests that come through the doors. We can provide feature lanes focusing on new titles, bestsellers, content with unique and favorable licensing models. And when you look at that full list that we talked about a little bit earlier on the main homepage, that was all done by the Curation Corps of Librarians. And so you can always start there, but we're always adding to those feature lanes, focusing on various months and so forth. So we really keep that fresh and up to date for you. You have the ability to add all your items that you see in any of those feature lanes into any cart that you have that you've created for easy access. The actual value and the number of titles for those featured lanes would automatically be made visible to you. You can modify any titles before adding them to your cart, and maybe cherry picking from something that the Curation Corps of Librarians have already done. So it kind of saves you some time there as well. For those that have not yet completed the institutional membership agreement, the IMA, I did include the Palace Marketplace test page where you can go in and play around with the marketplace. There's the email address here that you'll include, as well as the password, which is test123. But I've also included a link for where you can see the over 100 publishers that are offering some variety of the favorable licensing models, and also where you'll find all the Amazon Publishing and Audible Studio titles, and that is available just by clicking this link here as well. And on that note, that concludes the Palace Marketplace overview. Again, I am Cav. I'm the Senior Sales Manager for the EBCE division, joined by Tara Carpenter and Jill Scarson. So if you all have any questions, I will stop sharing my screen, and we are happy to answer questions at this time.
Cav, I'll add that we do have a playlist of videos about how to use the Palace Marketplace. So I'll go ahead, and it's on our YouTube channel, but I will also link to the video here in case you need that later when you're thinking about it. And also, because this session is being recorded, we'll post it afterwards on our YouTube as well. And then I'll send that out to the group. So you'll have this with what Cav talked about today, plus our video that was made by a professional company that kind of walks you through all the aspects of purchasing in the marketplace, and also BiblioBoard too. Purchasing, we didn't really cover that today. That's a separate but sister product. So that's thrown in there as a bonus for you. Okay, so I'll put the video here. This is how to purchase, in case you're wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the 40 by, I think, let me see this. It's the 40 by 10, so there are 10 concurrent checkouts at the same time. Let me No, so you'd have 40 lens, and 10 are checking them out at the same time. So ultimately, this is something that folks like if they're doing like a community reads type of programming or book club. And so it kind of really adds up to 400 checkouts ultimately. I don't know if I was clear with that. You're welcome.
Yeah, basically, I think there's always 10 concurrent loans available while you have that 40. And then, yeah, once you're out of the 40, or as you diminish under 10, then it's just whatever you have left is concurrent till you run out. Yeah, it looks like, so we have a question. Can you search multiple ISBNs in the marketplace at a time?
Yeah, so for that, you would go under the search. Tara, would you mind pulling up, do you mind
Yeah,
running through the marketplace for the advanced search feel
yeah,
for them as
absolutely.
well? Thank you.
You're welcome.
What folks can do too is you can upload your ISBN numbers as well if you wanted to do that to create a cart that way. So I know folks have imported their ISBNs to create a cart.
Absolutely. So you can see here, I went up to the top right, I clicked on advanced search to bring this up. You can paste up to 250 ISBNs at a time into this box here. And you can also, fill out all these other modifiers if you'd like, but if you're just doing by ISBN, you'll put the numbers here, click search. Then you want to make sure you have a cart ready first, just like Cav was telling you. So then all of the results will go and be added into the cart that you have active at the moment. So then you can go through to review. It'll tell you, it's added X amount of titles. It'll say if there are titles that weren't available, or if they have a different licensing model than what you had purchased previously. So you still get to go through and review that. You can do that there. You can also in a cart, if I go ahead and bring up a cart, sorry, bear with me a sec. And then you go into here. You can also import ISBNs up here in the top right. You can click on this and you can either paste them into this box or you can upload a file. So if you have that, file ready to go, you can do that. And again, it'll add those to the cart that you're working on at that time.
You're welcome, Elizabeth. Thanks, Tara.
You're welcome. Yeah, please let me know if there's anything else you want to look at in the actual software here. We can bring it up now. And I can show, I guess, while we're here. So this is where our kind of catalog homepage. So if you're looking for Amazon or Audible, the quick way to find it is to just type it in this um, carousel search, and then that'll bring up Amazon. And then if you click here, you'll go into the imprints as like the sub carousels. And then if you go back, you can also look for Audible here. And there aren't any like Audible imprints, so it's really just all of the Audible titles are here. So you can scroll or refine your search over on the left on this page. All right. Oh yeah, you're welcome. You got some thanks in the chat, Kath.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, the marketplace is a very intuitive marketplace to navigate. So it's one of those things that I think if anyone is interested before jumping right in or while they're waiting for their accounts to be provided to them once their IMA has been executed, definitely use the test account. Everything that Tara just did here, you'd be able to do the same. What's great about the test account is you would not be able to validate a cart. So it's a great place to maybe play around with a little bit, creating a card, naming the card, it's kind of getting your feet wet, getting the feel for it. And then once you've done that, then I would say, and you would go in directly into your individual account so you have some confidence in advance of clicking validate, because clicking validate and you're not ready, especially, or if it's something that wasn't what you wanted to purchase, can be a huge bit of a issue that we have to unravel. We're always happy to unravel things. But I love it when folks kind of play around and test in the test environment first and see all that we can do. It's nothing different. The only thing that we've disassociated from your live account is the validation, i.e. purchasing um, button. That's really the only difference, but everything else is the same.
All right. Well, you can always email us at support@thepalaceproject.org if you have any questions or would like the IMA. You can also email any of us individually. And after we stop this recording, I'll get the video loaded up onto YouTube and I'll probably email everyone tomorrow with the link to the recording and with the slides.
And let me mention the IMA is also in the presentation. When Tara sends that out, you'll see a link for the IMA there. So you can go ahead and complete that when you're ready to do so. So there's no rush on that, but it is made already available in the supporting content that we're going to be providing you post this call.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Thanks, everyone. I'll go ahead and I will stop sharing and I'll stop recording and we'll see you next time. Thanks
Take care,
again.
everyone.